How about if I just tell you when I first went in the service?
Okay, how about that? Go ahead.
When I first went in, me and another guy up here, Ray English, we went up to Atlanta out there on Ponce de Leon Avenue, and that's where we went out there, and they run us through all of us, got us all naked, and, and did all the junk, you had to bend over and all that kind of junk, and they checked everything out, make sure you was all there, and then they went in there and they was going to...
And you made it through, huh?
And I thought, well, they're going to swear us in the Army here in just a few minutes, and then something happened, and they decided they wanted to check some more of us out, so they put me in some guy, I don't even remember what kind of car it was in, but anyway, they carried me up on Peachtree Street to the doctor's building up there on Peachtree Street, and I had to go up there. They thought I had some kind of heart murmur or something, They sent me up there, had to do all that, and I waited up there, for them to come back and get me, and I called them and told them that I was through, and they could come get me. Well, they never did come up there and get me, and I said, heck, I'm walking back over there. From the doctor's building on Peachtree Street, I walked all the way out Ponce de Leon Avenue, and out there where the old Sears building, that's what they used as where they took all your physicals and all that stuff. That's what the Army used. Sears wasn't there anymore. And so anyway, I walked back over and walked in the door and said, I thought, did you call for us to send somebody? Yeah, I called for you to send somebody over and you didn't do it, and I just walked back. Well, anyway, we got back over and it was so late, and so they said anybody that lived close by could go home if they would be back at 7 o'clock the next morning. So me and Ray English, both of us, of course, he lived down there below Jonesboro. Anyway, and so he called his daddy, and his daddy come up there and picked us up and carried us home. So Daddy wrote it up on that cabinet. Larry came home. He left one morning, came home the next morning, and had to leave the next day. He had it all wrote down on that cabinet up, and I got the cabinet at the house. Anyway, so we went back up there the next day. Well, the next day they didn't send us home. They carried us in a room and swore us all in, and we went to Fort Benning, and I got down there, and so I was with a lot of guys from the South, Alabama and Georgia, most of us, was Southern guys, and got in there, and they looked at my record and saw they thought I had, they might better check this heart murmur thing out again. So they packed me up after we'd been down there 2 or 3 days and got our uniforms and all this stuff, and sent us over there. We was going to go over to Sand Hill. That was going to be where we was going to take basic training at Fort Benning. And we got over there, so they'd send me back over to the hospital, to be checked out again for this heart murmur thing. Well, anyway, they cleared me, and so I had stayed over there all day. Well, when I got back, that threw me behind. So they told me, you get your bags and everything packed up, we're going to take you somewhere else. So I had to pack up all my bags and everything that belonged to me, and go out there, and they put me in a Jeep and carried me over to another place at Harmony Church, North Harmony Church. And that's where I took basic training. Well, they pulled a bus up there, and everybody got off that bus was from Ohio and New York, just about. There was one other guy from Alabama, and one other guy, I think, from South. That was all of us. And so I was in there with all these Yankees, And here I was with all these other guys down at Sand Hill.
Right.
So I ended up having to take basic training with all of them. And the funniest thing about it, you can't always judge, a person by looking at what their size is, how they're going to do, Because we had a lot of guys in there that was guys that had, I guess, flunked out of college or what. Anyway, there was a lot of football players, big, strong, healthy-looking guys. And so when we was doing all of our training, and we had a lieutenant that was really gun-ho, so he just run us 5 miles in the morning, 5 miles at night, and then we had to do all our running around, do everything else we had to do. But that was an everyday thing. We would at night, we would be jogging in the whole company. I mean, our whole company would be jogging around through these other companies where they would be out shining shoes on the stuff. Here we are running around doing all this, and still had to go back and clean all our stuff up. But anyway, we had a good company. All of us in really good shape.
And what was the company's name?
I think we were Echo Company. They had A, B, C, D, and we would call it Echo. And so when we would be, I don't know, marching down through there, we'd do some kind of little song, and it's Echo, 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 all the way back to the last of us. But anyway, And at the end, you know, it's the funny thing because all this time, all this was going on, and when we went out to, you know, at the end of all this training you do, you go out and they do this thing called PCPT. I think it's a physical thing where you got to do all the stuff you do, you know, the run, dodging, jumping, throwing, hanging age, and all the stuff, doing low crawl and all that stuff, and then running a mile run, you know, and walking the bars, you know, and all that stuff. Anyway, and so they thought all these big football players, you know, they would want somebody to set a record because nobody had ever had a perfect record of 600. So they would want somebody to try to set that record. And so they try to put all them in one little group, you know, where they could all compete against one another, you know. Well, at the end of the day, when we was all going to run the mile run, there wasn't but 4 people that had a chance to break the record. And it was me and 3 other guys about my size, and we weighed about 145 pounds. And that was the only ones. All them other guys done down the way. So anyway, all I had to do on that mile, and I was sick. You know, here it was cold weather. It was in December, November, and it was already real cold. And of course, they won't let you run without your boots on. You know, so yeah, you know, we had on T-shirts, but they wouldn't let you run that T-shirt. But anyway, so I got over there and we was gonna run that thing, and I was already I was already choked up real bad. You know, couldn't hardly breathe good anyway because I was really sick. But anyway, I had my record. I had 1 point, having a perfect score, and I got over to that. And all I would have to do is run that mile in 6 minutes and 2 seconds. That thing, you know, and that was about 100 on it. Well, I've run a mile probably in 6 minutes before, you know, but I wasn't sick, and I wasn't in combat boots. But anyway, so they brought one of them little guys over there that, you know, that was one of the football players. They asked, "Is any of y'all ever run a mile in 5.5 minutes?" Well, one boy, yeah, I run track, I've done. So they wanted him to come over and run with us in our group where he could kind of pace us, you know. Of course, he just run on off and left all of us because none of us could run in no 5 minutes and 5.5 minutes. But anyway, I run on around through there, and I thought I was going to have to stop. I was hurting so bad, you know. I mean, down in my throat and everything was hurting so bad. And so I started slowing down, and it was the guy that was pacing us and me, and I was probably far from here to your car, you know, what is that, 20 yards? But anyway, I was probably that far behind him, but everybody else was that far behind me, you know, and then I started slowing down. And so the lieutenant saw I was slowing down, you know, the third lap. He had to make 4 laps around that big old place. So he run out there and started running with me, you know, and wanted to know what problem. I said, "Man, I'm hurt. I can't." I said, "I don't think I can do it." I said, "You know." He said, "Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, you can do it." I kept on running, but anyway, that guy kept getting further and further. And so, anyway, I finished in 6 minutes and 20 seconds, you know. And anyway, that ended up being a score of 592, you know, and the record would have been 600. Well, anyway, and I got a little trophy up in the attic at the house. They gave me a little trophy, for, you know, for winning that, because out of all them guys, out of, let's see, 260 guys, you know, what that would have been. And then I actually came in second in the whole battalion. There was one other guy that beat me, and he didn't get a 600. He got a 598. But and he was on. I was second in the battalion. That was 600 guys, probably, maybe a little more than that. But anyway, I thought that was just kind of weird. So you never can tell about stuff like that.